Folks, before we start, there's a very important cultural protocol that I must observe, and that is basically called acknowledgement of country. And it goes this way. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Wiradjuri people. We are on Wiradjuri land, we are in Wiradjuri country. They are people of what's called the Goanna totem. And I would also like to pass my respects on to elders, both past and present. So, thank you. I want to start off today's discussion, folks, by basically starting off by debunking a couple of myths around that exist about Aboriginal people, right? The first myth is that Aboriginal culture is a bit like the dodo bird. It no longer exists. It's extinct. It's gone, right? So I'm here to tell you, folks, that nothing can be further from the truth. Aboriginal culture is very much alive and well and thriving out there, and we need to be aware of that, right? You will hear people say, oh, but in New South Wales we don't have any Aboriginal people. The only Aboriginal people that exist are up in the Northern Territory, and they're the traditional Aboriginal people that still live up there. But there is. Aboriginal people still exist, and their culture is very much alive and well and thriving. The second myth I want to debunk is one about we are not a homogeneous group, right? People say, oh yes, well all Aboriginal people are the same, and they tend to want to throw a blanket over us and treat us all exactly the same. No, don't do that. If you do that, folks, you're going to fall into a trap. All you're doing is making life a lot more difficult for yourself, right? There is just as much diversity in Aboriginal society as there is in any group, right? So what I'm talking to you about today, remember, there are always exceptions to the rules, right? Always, right? And that's what it's all about. So let's start off and have a look and have a talk about how do you go working with Aboriginal patients. For a lot of Aboriginal patients, folks, believe it or not, you are going to be seen as what's called an authority figure. And you're going to wear an invisible sign across your chest that says, authority figure, whether you like it or not. It's going to be there. Right? That tag will then determine the type of rapport, the type of relationship, the type of interaction that you're going to have with your patient, right? How did that tag get there in the first place, right? We need to go back and look at our history in Australia, right? Have a look at the time of the stolen generation. Who were the people that were responsible for selecting the kids to be sent away? They were the police. They were the police, yeah. They were the health, the nurses. They were the welfare officers, and they were the school teachers, right? Have a look in today's society and have a look at that. Black and white relationships between police. Not all that great, is it? Right? Our health system, pathetic. We still have third world country. Medical conditions that exist in Aboriginal society today. Do you realise, folks, it was only 5 years ago that the last leper colony in Western Australia was shut down in Australia? Do you realise we had leper colonies in Australia? Right? They're the sorts of hidden history that's surrounding Aboriginal health, right? So again, we have that very difficult relationship, right? Our education system again, right? The amount of kids that are coming through. I'm an old education officer, that's where I come from. I just spent 40 years working as an Aboriginal education person, as a teacher and a lecturer at university. When I worked in education out home in my hometown of Walgett, I battled to get kids to come there, Aboriginal kids to come to Year 9. And back in those days, I could say to kids, come to school, get a good education, and you'll get a good job. Right? Today, I'm battling to get kids at Year 7 because I can't say that to them. All I can say to Aboriginal kids today, come to school, get a good education. There's no guarantee that you're going to get a job, but at least you'll be competing on the same level field as anybody else for that job. Right? Have a look at the relationship between Aboriginal people and docs. Right? And that's where your invisible label comes from, right? Because you were one of those people as part of that history. And you will wear that label, right? I said, whether you like it or not. And that's going to determine the type of relationship that you have. Right? Most of you now are working in GP practices and that sort of thing. One of the big things with Aboriginal people, we tend to want to leave things till the very last minute before we go and see you, right? We don't go there when our symptoms start. We go there when they're just about ready to end, when things are really at their worst. And that's when we'll go there and see you. And I get roused on all the time, and now I'm supposed to be an educated person. Oh, Laurie, you silly old bugger, why didn't you come and see me when I first started instead of leaving me so long? You know, and that sort of stuff. But I said, that's just one of our things because of that fear. If it was in hospital, you know, folks, Hospitals for Aboriginal people is not seen as a place where you go to get well. Hospitals are a place where you go to die. Right? And imagine the fear and the anxiety that brings about someone when they're admitted to hospital. Have you seen on the news when ambulances have been stoned and bottled when they go into Aboriginal communities? You know why they've been stoned and bottled?
Because they can't take people away and they don't go back.
Yeah. Of course, ambulances also, not only that, but also ambulances are a vehicle of death. They come to take people away to die. When was the last time you've seen an ambulance take someone back when they were well? Right? So ambulances are seen. So I said all that sort of fear about working and being in that whole medical system and that sort of thing. It's a whole strange new experience for us, right? And we still have great anxiety about going there. You know, there are still people today, people of my generation, who, particularly with young kids, are still frightened to take their kids to see doctors when they're ill, because they're frightened that the kids might be taken away from them and sent away. Yeah? That's why when we have a look at all this stuff about why don't Aboriginal people use the services that are there, then once you start understanding that history, then you start understanding why they don't, right? Why we don't have the Aboriginal people coming through and using what services that are available and that sort of thing. And I hear that argument all the time in my job. Laurie, look, we have such wonderful, wonderful services available, but Aboriginal people don't come and use them. Why? But again, as I said, you need to come back and start having a look and understanding why. There may be some barriers there, and looking at ways and means to start removing them barriers, right? I said, so again, I said, it's a very scary sort of a situation that we get to, right? We have what's called shame, and shame in Aboriginal society is a much, much deeper thing than it is in just normal society, right? Shame is one of our most powerful ways of embarrassing. If you really want to do something to an Aboriginal person where they will never ever have any sort of rapport relationship, put them into a position of shame, because you will lose them, right? And it's quite easy to do that without realising it, right? People will come into a surgery and they'll start filling out the form and that sort of thing. And sometimes some of those forms do get rather personal and that sort of thing. And they say, now, what do they want to know? What sort of money I make, whether I'm on a pension or anything? What's that got to do with me getting well and all that sort of thing? That's got nothing to do with this. What do they want to know? Are they sticky begging or what? And so, you know, that sorts of things happen, right? You've got to be aware of that sort of stuff, you know, just gathering that. And for a lot of people, not just Aboriginal people, first impressions, isn't it? You get there the first time and you have a nasty experience. Do you go back? No way. Because I don't have any magic wands to say, yes, look, here's a list, a magic list. Go away and do A, B, C, D, E, F, and this make sure that you will develop a positive rapport and relationship with your Aboriginal clients. It doesn't work that way. Because you need to get to know your client really well, right? I'm a very strong believer in that the more information and the more that you can find out about your client, and when I say that finding out about your client, I mean that in a professional manner, right? And the more professional information and that you have about your patient, the better armed you are to be able to provide services for them, and the better able you are to be able to look after their needs and what they require. Now, developing that rapport and relationship is very difficult in your role and that sort of thing, because these things take time. One of the most significant Aboriginal protocols or cultural characteristics, one of the most significant cultural characteristics that exist today, is that Aboriginal people will take you for who you are, not what you are. Right? You can be the world's greatest nurse. You can be the world's greatest clinician. And they couldn't care less about that. What they care about is you as a person and that type of relationship that you have with that, right? That you have with them, right? To be able to sit down and have a good old yarn with them and that sort of thing, right? And half the time, as I said, given the pressures that we're under, we don't have that time to be able to do that. But just being able to sit down, and it's not just that. I said most of you work in little small country towns. When you see an Aboriginal patient downtown, to be able to stop and say, "G'day mate, how you going?" Just those sorts of things that are going to help start breaking down those sorts of barriers and that sort of thing, to making life a little bit more easier for Aboriginal people to come to. And want to come into your service and take advantage of what you're offering.